So this is a continuation of our last lecture we had on the solution of Schrodinger's equation. So let's proceed. In the last lecture we have seen that we had this one-dimensional Schrodinger equation where this psi is a function of x and t, and we wanted to find out a solution for this wave function psi. We assumed this capital psi, which is a function of x and t, as the product of two different functions. Small psi, which is purely a function of x, and another function phi, which is purely a function of time. And using this, we put it back in this equation. Doing a few steps, we ended up with two separate equations where we had separated the variables x and t. So this is the method of separation of variables that we had applied to the original Schrodinger equation, and the idea was to separate out the time part of the equation and the x part of the equation separately, which we ended up with. So this was the time part of the equation, which is equal to some constant E, which we chose as the separation constant, and this one was the x part of the equation where it involves only functions of x, and that is also equal to the same constant E. Here it was considered that the potential V is a function of x only, which will usually be the case in most of our problems that we encounter. So the solution for this phi t part was very simple, which we just integrated this equation to get phi t as some constant c e to the power minus I t by h cut. So in this lecture we will focus on the other part of the equation, that is on psi x, which is the function dependent only on x. So this is our equation that we get out of the method of separation. So if I multiply this equation throughout by this small psi x, so that gives me minus h cut square by 2m d2 psi dx square plus v, which is a function of x, into psi x is equal to E into psi x. So what we have done is we have multiplied this equation throughout by this psi x. So this psi x has cancelled, and here we have a Vx into psi x, and on the right hand side we have E into psi x, where E is our separation constant. Fine. So look, this equation that I get here now, this equation is what we call the time independent Schrodinger equation. So the time independent Schrodinger equation, because this equation has got nothing to do with the time variable. Everything that you have here in this equation is dependent on x. The time part of the solution has already been obtained as c e to the power minus I t by h cut, and if I solve this equation, I will get this small psi x, and this small psi x multiplied by this phi t that we have here will give me my complete wave function psi xt, which was my original aim. So this particular equation holds a very, very important significance in quantum mechanics. I'll explain to you why. So remember that this is called the time independent Schrodinger equation, or in short we will write it as TISE, whereas the original equation that we had is usually referred to as the time dependent Schrodinger equation, or simply the Schrodinger equation, because here there is a dependence on time, but this equation does not in any way depend on time, so this is called the time independent Schrodinger equation. Why is this time independent Schrodinger equation important? Is because, look, I already told you in the previous lecture that if you go from one system to another, the only thing that changes in this entire Schrodinger equation is this potential function V. So V will make the only difference in the equation for one system to another. Now, when we applied the method of separation of variables, we ended up with these two separate equations. On the time part of this equation, containing this phi t, we do not have the potential function V. The potential exists only on this psi x part of the equation. It does not appear here. So, whatever be my potential, that means whatever be my system I consider, the solution for phi t will always be the same, c to the power minus I t by h bar. So, irrespective of my potential function which goes in as my input in the Schrodinger equation, irrespective of that potential, the phi t part of the solution will always end up in c to the power minus I t by h bar. What does that mean? That means if I am asked to find out the wave function psi xt, then I do not need to calculate this phi t part time and again. Phi t part is fixed. I know it that for any and every system, whatever be the potential, the phi t part will always give me c to the power minus I t by h bar. Of course, one condition that V has to be a function of x. As long as the potential is a function of x, the phi t part of the solution will always be c to the power minus I t by h bar for all systems. So I will not bother to solve for phi t again and again. I will consider phi t as given. So what am I left with? I am left with only this equation. So if I solve this equation, because this is the equation which contains V, I will put the appropriate potential here, solve this equation to get this small psi x. So solving the original Schrodinger equation reduces to solving this time independent Schrodinger equation. That is why this is so important. So if you are given a system and you are asked to find out the wave function of that system, finding out the wave function means finding out psi as a function of x and t. But I will not go into the original equation. I will straight away start with this time independent Schrodinger equation and try to find out this small psi x, because I know that once I get this small psi x, I will just multiply it by a factor e to the power minus I t by h cut. That will give me the complete wave function, this capital psi xt. So please remember that it is this time independent Schrodinger equation which we will repeatedly make use of for finding out wave functions for different systems. At the end, we will just multiply with this phi t component to get the complete wave function. So this is very, very important. And we have we can reframe this equation, this time independent Schrodinger equation, into a slightly special form. Like we already know that this operator p cap is given by minus I h cut del x. So you see p square, the operator p square, this would be h cut square del 2 del x square with a minus sign. We already have this minus sign, so minus and minus will give you plus, but I have an I here, so I into I will give you a minus 1. So that's why you will end up with this minus sign. So you have p cap as minus I h cut del x, so p cap square would be minus h cut square del 2 del x square. This is your p square operator. Now p cap square by 2m, that is your minus h cut square by 2m del 2 del x square. So you see, this thing that I have here, minus h cut square by 2m d2 dx square. Well, since we are dealing with a one-dimensional case, so we only have the x-axis, only the x component of position. So del x will be same as d dx, and hence del 2 del x square will be same as d2 dx square, since there are no other coordinates that we have here. So this minus h cut square by 2m d2 dx square can be written as p square by 2m simply. So I write this as p square by 2m plus v into psi x. So you see, this quantity is written as p square by 2m, and we have this v here, and this psi x was there present in both the terms. So I put this p square by 2m plus v in a bracket, and outside that I write psi. Fine. So that is equal to E psi. Now what is p square by 2m? We all know very well, p square by 2m represents the kinetic energy of the system, and v is the potential function or the potential energy of the system. So p square by 2m plus v, that is going to give you the total energy of the system. So this operator that I have is nothing but the total energy operator, which we write as H cap. So this p square by 2m plus v, this quantity or this operator is written as H cap. So I have H cap psi is equal to E into psi. So you see, this is another special form in which we can write down the time independent Schrodinger equation. However, in your exam, if you are asked to write the time independent Schrodinger equation, you must write this explicit equation, but always this equation can be represented in a shorter notation as H cap psi is equal to E psi, where this H cap is the total energy operator, p square by 2m plus v, and this tells you the significance of the separation constant that we took. Please recall, in the last lecture I used the separation constant, the notation was used as E. Why I took the separation constant as E is clear from this equation. You see, this is an eigenvalue equation. H cap is the total energy operator, E is the eigenvalue of the energy operator, so E will essentially represent the energy of the system. So if you allow the H cap or the total energy operator to operate on this wave function, you get the energy value E times psi x. So the separation constant E represents the energy of the system. Physically, it represents the energy of the system. That is what gets clear from our expression that we have got here. So E represents energy. We call it the energy eigenvalue, because E is the eigenvalue corresponding to the energy operator. So this is understood that if you know the potential now, then you will put the potential function in this equation and solve for this psi x, and whatever psi x you get, you will multiply it with phi t to get the complete wave function. So the complete wave function will be like psi x into e to the power minus I e t by h cut. Okay. Now many may ask, I had a c in phi t, where did the c go? That c constant, you see, when you solve for psi x will also have some constant. So if you multiply and you take that c inside this psi x, okay, so the c that we had in the phi t solution, I am taking it inside psi x. So I just keep this e to the power minus I e t by h cut as my phi t, and whatever constant I have taken it or considered it inside psi x. So this psi x into e to the power minus I e t by h cut is going to give you the complete wave function. So kind of I can sort of write it as some other constant A. So psi x has a constant and C was another constant. So those two product gave you some constant, say A. So A psi x into e to the power minus I e t by h cut will give you the complete wave function psi xt. I'll end by mentioning one last point. You see, the probability density, if you recall, the probability density was given by this mod psi xt square, so which stood for psi xt into psi star xt. Now this psi xt, if I write as some psi x into e to the power minus I e t by h cut, and this psi star we can write as psi x star into e to the power I e t by h cut, because I am taking the conjugate. So psi x, I take the conjugate of psi x, and e to the power minus I e t by h cut, its conjugate will be this minus I is replaced by plus I. So this is the conjugate. So that gives me, you see, e to the power minus I e t by h cut into e to the power plus I e t by h cut. This will multiply to give you 1. E to the power 0 means 1. So you are left with psi x into psi star x. Okay, which is nothing but your, I can write it as mod psi x square. So if this capital psi xt is your psi x into e to the power minus I e t by h cut, of course there can be some constant which we will evaluate from the normalization condition. This is the normalization constant. So let us assume that the constant is taken inside psi x. So if this is your capital psi xt expression, so mod psi xt square, if you calculate, ends up giving you small psi x into psi star x, which is mod small psi x square. That means your probability density, which is this, is same as mod of small psi x square. That means the probability density is independent of time. Look here, there is no time function. So capital psi, the mod square of that is same as mod of small psi square. So your probability density, this quantity is called the probability density. So probability density is independent of time. That means the probability of finding the particle in a certain region of space is not going to change with time. Such kinds of states represented like this, these kinds of states are therefore called stationary states. Stationary states. So these kind of states which are represented in this form are called stationary states. Why stationary states? Because the probability of finding the particle in such states is independent of time. It does not change with time. So what the probability is now, it will remain the same forever within a certain region of space. So this is what we mean by stationary states. We end the discussion on the solution of Schrodinger equation here. In the next lectures, we will take up some applications with an example where we use the Schrodinger equation to find a wave function of a system. Thank you.